Hello, YouTube. Today's subject are the suspect hurricanes that we have. Now, let me ask you this: there's a place off the west coast of Africa. It's a they call it a hot zone, and they call it where they say where it's there's a reason that hurricanes spawn from that area because there's a lot of hot hot currents, warm currents mixing with cold water, or cool currents mixing with warm water, and that's what causes hurricanes. Well, you have to think, off the coast of Africa, it never gets cold. I mean, because Africa is in one of the hottest places. The continent of Africa is one of the hottest places on the planet. I mean, just the continent of Africa, and the waters is one of the warmest places on the planet. That's why great whites dwell out there. That's why all kinds of fish and ocean life dwells out there, because it's warm. Temperature never changes. But why do we have a hurricane season? All hurricanes spawn off the west coast of Africa, and they travel all the way across the Atlantic in almost a perfect pattern. They don't switch their pattern until they get to the United States. They will travel all the way across the Atlantic in the same pattern, and then when they get near the United States, they start changing course. They go into the Gulf. They go hit Florida. They can come up. They can come up and then swoop back around and go back out to sea. That's suspect. Because how do you have a hurricane season and say, oh, this only starts during a certain time of year, when off the west coast of Africa, the weather is always the same? Those currents and stuff are always warm. The currents are always warm. They don't just get warm at a certain time of the year. It's always warm out there. Look at all the different species of fish, wildlife, orcas, blue whales, great white sharks, hammerhead sharks, all barracudas, grouper, all kind of stuff, red snappers. All fish live out there all year. All these fish live out there all year round. Don't have to migrate, because it's the perfect oceanic climate for them. But come time around this year, from August all the way up to October, it's hurricane season. Hurricane just starting up and headed toward the United States. They just start up out of nowhere for no specific reason at all and just start heading toward the United States. Now, if you people have ever heard of HAARP, HAARP, I really don't know the meaning for each letter, but each letter means something. HAARP. It was a way to harness energy through microwaves. It was either microwaves or radio waves, but that's what HAARP is. And they actually have a HAARP installation somewhere in the United States where they can direct radio waves to create heat and stuff, to heat up something, to get it so hot to where it can it's basically a laser, but without the beam. It just heats a certain part of the atmosphere up. They actually have a HAARP installation somewhere that was the test site. And all this is a bunch of coils and stuff, and a bunch of electrodes and coils and stuff, to where they could heat stuff up. Now, from what I heard, they had something built off of the west coast of Africa, but underneath the ocean, because they wanted to follow. When it heats the ocean up, creates a hurricane. They want to follow the same route that the slave ships followed across the Atlantic. And then they have a satellite in the sky with the same kind of technology, HAARP technology on it, that can beam the heat waves down to keep the hurricane moving. and keep the hurricane. They can make it any category they want. It depends on how much they heat up the ocean. They can heat it up. They can heat the water up and cool it off to where they can keep it at category 1, category 2, category 3, and they can steer it with this satellite up in the sky. They can steer it with this satellite up in the sky. This is not something I'm making up. I've actually did research about this. They have a HARP installation under the ocean off the coast of Africa, and they have a HARP installation on a satellite in the sky that can beam down these waves and heat the ocean up. And the satellite can stay stationary. It can stay stationary and move at the same speed as the Earth and turn at the same speed as the Earth. But as it's turning, its beam is being directed at an angle, so it can heat the water up and keep the hurricane at the same power. But the satellite is staying stationary, because if it moves too fast, satellites up in space, the International Space Station moves at 17,500 miles per hour. But this satellite can stay stationary and focus its beam as it's staying stationary, as the Earth is still spinning, and focus its beam down at an angle and keep that water heated up, or it can turn off to where it cools the water down enough to bring the category down, or I can heat it up more to raise the category of the hurricane, and it can direct it like that toward the East Coast. So they can send FEMA in. FEMA is federalized. FEMA, when they send FEMA in, you know, these FEMA people, they are armed guards. They're not some American Red Cross people coming in, you know, or some church people coming in trying to help you. This is FEMA. These people have armed guards. They have installations set up. They turn Walmarts or old abandoned things down in the FEMA camp. So if a natural disaster happens, they tell you, hey, we're here to help you. And you flock to this place. You flock to it. And then you get in there, people never hear from you again. People never hear from you again. Like if you homeless and you go to a FEMA camp, people never hear from you again. If you're a legal immigrant and you go to a FEMA camp, people never hear people never hear from you again. How do they control? The East Coast is the most populated part of the United States. It's population control. That's why they send in these hurricanes to create these natural disasters, to where you need help from somebody. Who are they sending to help you? FEMA, a federalized organization. Which federalized means they have power over. The feds have power over the government. The feds have power over the state. So for instance, you pick up a state criminal charge, but that charge also carries fed time. The fed's gonna take care of you first, and you're gonna do your fed time first. And when you get done with your fed time, then you're gonna do your state time. So when the state issues a state of emergency, basically what they are doing is turning the power over to FEMA, which is a federal organization. Now the state is not over you. This federal organization, FEMA, is over your care and stuff like that. So if you have warrants, if you're a legal immigrant, if you homeless, FEMA's gonna take care of you, all right? Bro, you got warrants, they gonna lock you up. If you're a legal immigrant, they deporting you. If you homeless, they don't even hear from the homeless. I don't know what happens to. I don't know what they do to the homeless people. You got to understand what's going on. You got to understand. And since the East Coast is the most populous place in the United States, if you look at a map of the United States, at night, look how lit up the East Coast is compared to the West Coast. Look how lit up the East Coast is compared to the Midwestern United States or the Northern United States. The East Coast is lit up like a fucking light bulb, like a light bulb. That's why they have these fucking goddamn HARP installations in the ocean and up in space to make these hurricanes that come and hit us. And in the West Coast, the same HARP thing, instead of creating a hurricane, it focuses energy its heat energy down to create wildfires, forest fires that burn for millions and millions of acres, burn down people's homes and stuff until they ain't got nobody to run to except for FEMA. So think about that. Think about that. Think about that. How do hurricanes just spawn up at a certain time of year out of Africa when the water is the same temperature all year round? That weather over there never changes. Yes, they have storms and things over there in Africa, but why? How can a storm forming off the west coast of Africa stay hot enough to travel across the whole Atlantic, all that water? How can the water stay warm enough to travel across the whole Atlantic and make landfall in the United States and flood and make ocean swells up to 15 to 40 feet high? Oh, I'm sorry, y'all. My allergies messing with me. Ocean swells from 15 to 40 feet high. That's enough to take out a 2-story house, a 6-story house. That's enough to take out a damn your average hospital. A wave that big, 40 feet high. Y'all got to think about what's going on. That's all I'm saying. I'm about to get up off here because I keep, these allergies get to me. But y'all just think about that. All right? And I want to hear your comments and all that. Let me know what you think.